Hello all, and welcome to the last Esk8 UK experience of 2022. And Esk8 James is here with us in the studio, and Suki is behind the scenes. So, James, you've got a packed program for us tonight. You're going to hot foot us through last year's Esk8 news. Is that correct?
That's correct. The top 50 moments that I feel were really important to hear about, whether it was new boards or news stories or those breakthroughs like new cloud wheels for older hub motors, or better yet, shred lights.
Indeed. So we're going to do a bit of that, and then just have a bit of a chit chat about some of the other stuff that happened this year.
Yeah,
as a nostalgia fest, really. So
absolutely. So to start us off with, there was this YouTube channel called Esk8 General Hospital, and they've been around for just over a year, but they were basically on their way to showing people how they were hacking boosted board tech, whether it was pairing new remotes, pairing remotes to different boards. And I think like they're definitely one to watch, because after sales support, once a company goes boosted, and really a thing at this point in time.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, hey, James. Good to see James joining us there. So yeah, absolutely. So that whole thing about that backwards compatibility and using some of the tech, because Boosted did still have quite a lot of positive following, and a lot of people still keen to keep their boards on the go.
Absolutely. I mean, they they made it an April Fool's Day video where they paired a boosted board to an Evolve remote, and they were joking about it. But now it's actually maybe possible to do that for real, no joke.
And that's interesting, isn't it? But maybe if it was the other way around, a boosted remote. Let's not go there. Let's not go there. Anyway.
Yes. So number two, we had a new remote design from Backfire. It's called the Halo remote, specifically for our Sledgehammer model. And it was really strange because they put fingerprint technology into a skateboard remote. Was it necessary? But it looks cool.
It's an interesting concept, though, isn't it? For people, you know, maybe losing their boards, or people, you know, the whole idea of board thefts and stuff like that. I suppose you've got fingerprint sensors in quite cheap phones now. So to have it on a board, it's interesting that nobody else has done it, isn't it?
And it is quite a nice design, the remote. It's just a shame that it doesn't work with any other boards, because it's like one of the coolest ones. It reminds me of the Buster Blade from Final Fantasy VII, which is a video game.
Oh, yes. Oh, don't get started on video games. But something like that. We'll maybe need to think about some of the other tech that could be involved in keeping our boards safe another time. But yeah, that's an interesting one, the fingerprint tech, isn't it?
Yeah. Just to double check, is my audio coming through okay?
Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
Okay, cool. Because I've got a tiny bit of an echo on my side. I don't know why. Okay, number three, a game-changing swappable enclosure design, Clips and Go. It's from a France-based Esk8 company called Drive Your Board. Not many people know about this company. I tried to buy some lights from them, and then it was like 4 months for a pair of lights delivery. But cool concept, the idea of just clipping the enclosures on and off.
Yeah, so we haven't heard any more about whether that's, you know, how robust it is, or I haven't really seen much in the space about them.
I mean, that's one design that I wish more people would review, because I mean, how many boards have quick swappable entire enclosures?
Yeah, it's tricky, and one that's good, one that doesn't fail on you as well, because you've obviously got those contact issues, vibration. I mean, I do think it's one that if you're going to do, you got to be sure it works properly.
Absolutely, and send it to some reviewers who will prove if it works or doesn't.
I know I've seen some people using Zeus fasteners. You know, the DZUS. They're basically the clips that you use on motorbike fairings, on racing ones, to not have to use hex keys. or quick release like you use on a front skewer of a bicycle wheel.
Definitely. So on to number 4. Wowgo introduces alternative 105mm cloud wheel donuts for older hub motors. Meepo then did the same. So for people who aren't aware, Meepo's hub motors, they were kind of an outdated design. They did a revised hub motor, but now we've got a much easier way of putting these on, because before there was hammers, there was chisels, and you could not get these wheels off. So thank God they redesigned those things.
So you've ended the year with 2 eyes, which was not always guaranteed.
No,
Thanks to some of
Austria
these
getting yourself a scar.
I was going to say that was bloody scary. No, it's super important. It's not just like a nice to have, is it? It's like if things are going to be fixable, they need to be fixable without risk of permanent injury. Anyway.
Absolutely. Number 5, a new company enters the Esk8 scene, Thunderboards. Now, they said they're going to launch this when there's like, I think 100 orders or something. I don't know if they've got that many orders yet, but it looks really cool what they want to do. And it's one of those things where they said they were going to launch, but they didn't. What happened?
Yeah. And it's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky always when you think, how far out are they from having the funding, that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's tricky. So
I mean, I love the idea of sort of like a blue sidewall design to the actual deck. That's pretty cool. You don't see that very often.
No,
Nice
I think I've seen some of the back in the Slick Revolution days. The Flex 2 had a different coloured PU shock absorbing, built-in layer, which was supposed to, just stop it from getting everyday bumps and scrapes. It wouldn't stop it getting damaged from an impact. But yeah, I think it's a nice look.
Okay, I think I might need to pick up the pace for this. Number 6, Shred Lights releases their take on underglow skateboard lightings, the SLFX. And I got one of these, and 10 years, and we finally have decent lights that go under the boards. So, brilliant.
Yes, and you also put some tips about how to mount them and not put them too close to the trucks because of how they clip onto the thing. So make sure anybody can check out James's videos if you're going to buy a set, or that's really helpful stuff. So thank you for your review on that. Thunder, sound like hotspot. Thunder, when you say thunderboards. Obviously, I think James has obviously been watching Thundercats back in the 80s. Thundercats, oh!
All right, moving on. Number 7. Boosted Boards 105mm wheel formula makes a comeback, and Viril are the ones to bring it back. I don't know if you've seen these. They have like a white core to them. They're meant to be extra spongy, so like 70, 65A, something like that.
Yes. It's interesting that, isn't it? Just that people have, and I guess that's
formula.
Yeah, the formula, the different geometers and different feels to the thing. Some people want more range, some people want more comfort.
The 165mm cloud wheel rovers were launched, and these were basically the off-road version of cloud wheel donuts. Really, really big wheels, but the great thing is they fit hub motors as well as belt-driven systems. So maybe one day I'll have one of those. All-wheel drive.
A really interesting in between, because not as power hungry as pneumatics, and obviously not puncture resistant, but not obviously what I've heard is not as comfy as full pneumatics either. So it's a fair compromise, I think. Quite expensive compared to replacing pneumatic tires, it's got to be said.
Yeah, but when you compare it to the old solid state tires that were very cheap rubber and they didn't really have that foam core, I think they stand alone in that regard.
Well, yeah, no, they're a decent innovation, definitely.
Then number 9, Ecomobile introduces a shortboard and a tramper style model, the Mini and Ripper. So was it Ecomobile ain't exactly known for shortboards. and
No,
trampers boards.
they're a chunky board manufacturer generally, aren't they? So
the idea of them doing shorter boards and moving away from that, built like a tank model is quite good to see. The diversifying.
yes, no, absolutely. It'd be interesting to see some tests of the Mini. I can't remember seeing much in the way of tests of it, reviews of it, but it's quite cheap.
Yeah. Number 10. This one is the Meepo and their entry-level kids board, the Mini Dual. Normally, kids' electric skateboards, they are shite, and I mean rubbish. Awful batteries, awful remotes. So the idea of a known brand making a kids board that will work, will go reasonably fast, but isn't silly, is good to see. It's refreshing to have a board that is actually custom, made for purpose.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, this is the one I would recommend for kids, because don't waste your money on the really cheap ones.
That's it. We'll have to have a Santa list for next year.
Absolutely. 11. Revel introduces 105mm hybrid wheels for their direct drive kit. It's a very well-known kit that you can have swappable batteries on. You can make any board electric, direct drive. But the problem is it only had street wheel options. So the idea of having a mid-sized wheel, it's about time. And they're called Snugs.
Yes, I know. It's an interesting one, isn't it?
12. Nobleman's Tech fire-resistant bag, scathing fire tests from the YouTube channel Mario Contino. I bought one of these bags, and then that video came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's awful."
I bought one as well. I mean, I don't know. I haven't set fire to anything, so I don't know. I guess it was quite a big bag of batteries he put in, so I don't know. I mean, they did say that they would replace them if they did another one, but they haven't done another one. So
in fact, I have to check, and any evidence of this bag has disappeared from their website, and I sent them a message asking what happened to the revision, the replacements we were going to get. I don't think it's going to happen.
So if Nobleman is watching the channel, come on now, Nobleman. You know what?
Answers, we want answers.
Fair play, no, fair play to them for developing something. And I guess, the things the ones that we saw when they were testing it held up. But I think that there are possible revisions. Yeah.
Cool. 13, Backfire. They brought out this slimline model called the Error. Originally, you could only get it in the US, and then they brought out a sequel to it, the Error 2. So the idea of a slimline design that isn't a Team G is good to see.
Yeah. Again, slimline boards are always good to have that option, isn't it, rather than the bulkier boards.
And number 14, speaking of slimline designs, X8, they bring out this slimmer battery charger, which is great because those battery chargers can be very bulky. So the idea of somebody going, no, let's try and make these smaller, but just as powerful, that's good to see.
It is. I guess the only thing I would say with the battery chargers is to be aware. Obviously, some of them, if they've got a fan in them, because sometimes you want to make sure that they stay cool. So I think small is good. Light is probably as important if you're carrying it, but certainly if you've got one that's powerful, you want to make sure that it's still staying cool and it's not overheating. I don't know if there's any problems with that or not, but it'd be good to hear from other people, their experience.
Absolutely. 15, X8 brought out their precision hub and rims with their retaining circlip design. So the idea of having an off-road wheel hub that you can quickly change wheels on and off with, but with like a circlip, very unusual. We don't get that very often.
I know that reminds me of, that's like how a motorbike rear wheel is held on. It's like it's a circlip there.
And you think we're talking about skateboards here. We don't get like motorcycle style rims very
Well,
often.
everything, yeah, you know, just shows you that if people clock what works, I think that the idea of something moving from, you know, a quick release, something that's solid and quick release is really quite good, because sometimes it can be a bit of a fiddle swapping wheels over.
Mhm.
I know with my board, like, you need to make sure and line up the wheels perfectly and make sure that you have the washers on, because if it's slightly squint, it'll rub and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
if there's something you can just slam it, click, go, I'm up for that.
Exactly. I mean, the whole idea of perfectly balanced wheels, that is something that's becoming more important to electric skateboard riders, especially when they're doing the faster 30, 40 mile an hour speeds. So maybe this helps with that aspect.
Yeah, I think it's worth looking at, and especially as people are riding bigger wheels, it becomes more important, because the rotating mass obviously spins further out from the center.
16, Loaded Boards X Unlimited phases out their electric skateboard division. They got a lot of feedback and they didn't like it, and they, phasing it out. So I guess bye to them as a electric skateboard company.
Yeah, it's a shame, because they're nice boards and it was interesting, the partnership that they had. But
Hmm.
yeah, it just shows, even if you've got good tech, sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes bio board. Now James is going for the
Well,
future.
it's on the list somewhere.
It's all
But
right.
and this was the interview where they were saying that they didn't expect such scathing feedback. Obviously we're very picky about how an electric skateboard should be, how fast it should be, what price it should be, and from this system was kind of underpowered and kind of overpriced for what it was.
Yeah,
So I'm guessing with so much feedback, they just thought, nope, not worth it.
yeah, it's tough. It's a competitive space, isn't it?
It's true. And speaking of competitive, number 17, the decline of Like on board customer service, growing resentment, no posts since June, the radio silence, and this is one of those kind of indicators that something's going on behind the scenes with a company. And I've had this board for 2 years. I've done over 1,000 miles, and it's a shame when you see a company that you trusted slowly fade away.
Yeah, it's tricky. It'd be good to have people, if it's still active. It'd be good for them to be doing a bit more promoting themselves, because it's
Mhm.
super important. You need trust, and a lot of that trust is through interaction, and a lot of that interaction is social media. So if you're going to do it, just keep doing it.
18, going back to drive your board with the Eclipse and Go enclosure design, they brought out these light up riser blocks, and that was somewhat cool to see, because we don't find something like that very often. The switch on the side of it, the windows built into the riser block itself. It was cool, but when they said to me 4 months to get it from France, refund.
Yeah, you tried, James. You tried to get it in the name of reviews and testing it out, and it does look like a pretty cool design. So again, it's that thing about, as far as I know, I haven't seen anybody in the UK stocking them. It'd be really good if you had like an Esk8 UK stockist, because that would what would make sense with something like this. Order a crate of them, get them
I mean,
sold
so if you remember the really cheap I Wonder lights that would go on the front or the rear of your board, white lights, red lights, they break very easily, as I found out, and don't last after 2 years. So I wanted something a bit more permanent, and this could have been it, but couldn't get one in the end.
No, tricky. Okay. Hopefully some importers are watching.
19, backfire sledgehammer deck wings. That was a thing this year. The idea of bolt-on deck extension wings, but also they doubled as carry handles.
Yes, very. I think it just feels like the 80s is coming back. Shoulder pads, massive wide.
Well, it's the widest you can make your skateboard.
That's the widest you can make your skateboard. It's an interesting concept. It's interesting to hear people who've ridden it see whether it. I suppose it depends how wide your deck is and how your stance is generally as to how much purchase. If you've got probably size over 10 feet, maybe it's maybe more of a thing, or a really narrow deck. But it's not something that I've thought, oh, I could really do with another. Oh, I'm not even going to finish that sentence because it's going to sound wrong. Right, continue.
Moving on to 20. Speaking of wide things, Meepo introduces their larger Cyclone racing wheels, and these are the fat boy tires you are looking for kind of putting that power down when it comes to 40-mile-an-hour speeds. We talk about decks getting wider, the wheels got wider. I mean, these are basically car tires at this point.
They're a lovely looking wheel. I mean, it's a nice design of the alloy as well, and the amount of contact grip compared to something like a cloud wheel or even the sort of standard pneumatics like that I've got in mine, that it's a very a very broad contact point. So yeah, I would love a shot on something like that just to see what it does for the handling, the grip levels.
21 wheels strike again. 60mm, 65 and 70mm longboard wheel designs from Cloud Wheel. Flexible spiral fan-shaped core. They actually redesigned the skateboard wheel. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, but that's again, just to remind people, that's a non-electric design, isn't it?
It's true, yeah. Although in theory, one day they could pair these with the smaller hub motors. Having these on the front, who knows? Maybe there is a donut version of them in the works. I still think it's worth mentioning because who knows what they will do next.
It's worth mentioning again the technology because it could trickle down, definitely.
Yep. 22, Meepo teases another upcoming shortboard model called the Flow. So it's a big single enclosure design, double kingpin trucks. Hasn't came out yet, but it's there. So that'll be one to watch.
Yeah. There's been quite a few shortboards coming out this year, hasn't there?
There certainly has. And like I said, there's not many people remember this, so it's good to flag it up and say, where is this then, people? Because I like it, but I want a hub motor version. I want options.
Yeah, and that little kind of sort of fishtail at the back as well, quite a nice touch.
Mm-hmm.
Again, quite similar to the short ace deck, sort of, but minus the little fancy bit on the back.
23, X8 brought out reflective grip tape. Now, of all the things I thought we would get, I didn't think we would get reflective grip tape this year. Everything was reflective. The materials, the coats, the grip tape, the lanyards, the remotes. So that was a funny trend.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously grip tape's facing upwards, so you would have to wonder about the actual potential benefit. I mean, a reflective jacket, lanyard, backpack. I mean, backpacks for definite because getting seen from behind. But yeah, grip tape did seem potentially a bit of bling too far. But there we go.
24. This one's a bit of a self shout out. I nicknamed Cloud Wheels CDs because I thought, that's a slang that needs to be used. Have you got those CDs?
Yes, that's it. Let's see if we can get it to take off in 2023. CD.
Then
hopefully CDs are now outmoded. You see these days they're anyway. We've gone over to cloud for music, you see, and now anyway, I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere.
25, Meepo Voyager model was released. So a lot of the companies like Meepo and X8 and Wowgo, they were revising a lot of their kind of basic budget board boosted clone models. And this was one of those ideas that it needs a bigger battery, needs a big redesign, especially those hub motors. Nobody's got time for the older hub motors. Don't go near them.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they did redesign was the deck shape, so it wasn't as a high concave like the.
Yeah. Another bit of I guess another bit of evolution rather than revolution, wasn't it? Really.
Indeed. 26. Electric skateboard company Maxfied enters the electric scooter market. It's not very often that an electric skateboard company will start making electric scooters. One of the most prominent ones that did so was Boosted. Some debate that it broke the company, that they should have stuck with skateboards and not gone with scooters. But what they've done basically is a version, if not slightly better, than the Boosted Rev, but with a swappable battery. And that's really fascinating, just the different approach that they would take to this.
Diversification, I guess. Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Absolutely. And speaking of Maxfind, 27, they celebrate 7 years in business in the e-skate industry. So they survived. How many companies in this industry can make it that far?
The 7-year itch, as they say.
2028. Ain't Two Ain't Pictures, Carrie Judd and Drew Garcia, upcoming documentary, a story of mental health, grief, and recovery through e-skate. We don't get documentaries like this very often, so that's one to watch. I don't know where you can watch it though, which is the main downside to this story.
No, it's on the the link is Vimeo. It's on Vimeo. It's not. I think you can actually watch it on Vimeo rather than on. It's not on YouTube. It's like you need to rent it off there, I think.
Okay. I'll definitely want to watch that one. 29, X-Way's long-awaited battery booster for their Atlas Pro model only was released. The auxiliary battery box, if you remember. Everybody wanted this, and then when it finally arrived, they were like, why does it only fit one model?
It's a pretty good idea, though. That's a modular. How much more battery do you want? Because otherwise you're left with that, oh, well, I can get a bunch of battery cells and I can try and splice wires together and try and make sure that everything doesn't blow up. And for me, I'm not really that interested in that approach. If you've got something you can say, give me something that will work and plug in, I would probably be interested.
So maybe we will see similar copycat designs coming out in the next year, maybe more user-friendly and not just strictly for one model. Basically, it's the equivalent of saying, hi Jack, it's the equivalent of saying, I want a shoebox extra battery. That's what it is, which is quite funny. Yeah,
a little for those doomsday preppers that you've got to have. Well, I know I've gone all out, Jack. So yeah, definitely. Okay, what's next?
So and then 30 X-Way Flex extended range model was released. A lot of people enjoyed the X-Way Flex. I think they toned down the flares on the concave with this and gave it a bigger battery, which is much appreciated.
Yeah, another interesting development.
This is an interesting one. 31. A new company enters the e-skate industry, Esk8 Electric Skateboards, and they became one to watch.
Yeah, I would say they're one of the most. They're the most interesting. I'd be interested to have Eric on to talk if at some point if he can, because there's such a plethora of models and quite interesting stuff. I'm quite excited to see it. I know there's been some stuff about how much of it's been borrowed from other folks, but they've been very interesting, quite exciting boards. And
it's a fascinating time because we're past the stage of copycat designs, and now people are kind of bringing their own designs in and trying to run with it, which is something you got to appreciate. You know, the whole competition breeds innovation kind of situation.
Yep.
32. Lacroix introduces a new model, the Barrel, considered the short board of their range. Once again, big board company. They make a short board. We weren't expecting that.
No, that came out of the blue. Oh, here's Craig. Merry Christmas down in Australia. Yes, indeed. The Barrel. It felt quite interesting because it didn't look like they'd cut too many corners, but it did seem to be quite good value. Christmas next year. Christmas is Christmas is past. I know
I'll take wheels, and more wheels.
More wheels. That's it. Range, and more range for me. Yeah, but the barrel, it's interesting, isn't it? It threw the cat among the pigeons a little bit, but yeah, another quite an interesting addition. Lacroix 10% off boards. Oof. It's interesting.
These are somewhat your premium boards in terms of their price.
Right, lovely, but it's still yeah, it's a Christmas day. It is, but yeah, it's a lovely. The barrel is a lovely looking board, and it doesn't look, like I say, it doesn't look like they've cut too many corners. And it is I know it's still quite a lot of money, but it's significantly cheaper than their other boards. So I think hats off to them for expanding their offer.
Absolutely. 33. Marlon loves wheels. Crowdfunding for their new slip-over wheel models, new tread designs, slightly smaller. 50% funded so far, so they're getting closer to having that solved. And they really are your option for older pub motors. Don't go anywhere near trying to get those wheels off. They're an absolute pain sometimes. So
yeah. It's good to have.
And I really want to test the hairspray bar end grip approach with this to see if they will stick on more rather than ever sliding off. So that's one to test theory wise.
Good stuff.
34 X-Way Atlas Pro was released. There was a lot of pros this year.
There was a lot of pros, indeed. I like the 4-wheel drive white version. I thought very funky, very spacey, with the NASA links and everything like that. Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice looking board.
And then 35. I'm getting confused now. Wowgo 82 Plus model was released, and that was a good revision for the Wowgo fans with the belt-driven boards. 36 Ace Deck released their off-road model, the NYXZ1.
Yeah, again, a nicely put together board. I mean, it was, again, lots of nice, really nice detail to it.
37 Wowgo releases their Pioneer 4 models. Once again, this is kind of like their basic model revision, but a bigger battery. So definitely an improvement. 38, a new company enters the Esk8 industry, he EV, with their Polestar model. And if you don't remember this one, it's got the sidewall lights all the way around the skateboard deck.
Yeah, it's an interesting name, isn't it? He EV.
Yeah, I had to question how they came up with that name, but the board looks okay.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we'll see if we hear more from them this year.
Absolutely. 39 electric quad skates from Airtrick, ludicrously funded on Indiegogo, £91,000 out of their £2,000 goal, and it uses an electric skateboard remote. So it's not very often that you see electric quad skates with an electric skateboard remote. Over the years, they've tried to make them balance-based, and it seems to be what will be the most successful one yet. I want a bigger battery on it, but I'm fighting the urge not to become Shadow the Hedgehog with these.
Well, I know. Have they gone into production yet? Do you know?
Yeah, no, they definitely have. And for what it is, 17 mile an hour top speed, can climb 15-degree hills, and I just want to see the next step up from that. I want 20-degree hills, 25-degree hills. I want bigger motors.
Yeah, something that makes the noise like you're collecting 100 rings. Bling!
Now you see, now it's smart. Same page. 40 Evolve teases their Series 2 model revision specs, new electric speed controllers, larger motors, app compatibility, new heatsink, and Hadian remote. So basically their entire range got an upgrade like it should have. So Evolve riders were happy with that.
Yes, no, it's always good to see. Got to see those gradual revisions and improvements, because obviously when the Hadian came out, there was all the new more sturdy remote, but obviously there's the sturdiness, and there's also the connectivity, everything like that moving forward.
And 41, here we are again with another Pro, the X-Way Flex Pro model that was released, and slightly higher top speed, but as you'd expect, bigger motors, slightly less range than the extended model.
Yeah, I think, was that the one that Daniel Kwan said? He said, yeah, it's nice, but for the sort of riding I do, you kind of probably, you don't necessarily need it.
No, it was the year of the Pro models. I really trying to ask what makes a Pro model do 30.
Yeah, that's the thing. I got a Pro this year as well, just to be hip and on trend.
Then we have 42. Meepo releases the Hurricane Ultra model, and if memory serves right, the Ultra model has a gear drive, which is different because we haven't seen many gear drives from budget board companies before.
Ultra for when Pro isn't enough.
Exactly. That'll be the next one. Ultra everything. I guarantee it.
What comes after Ultra? Mega.
Yep. So then we have 43. X-Way celebrate their 6th year in the e-skate industry. They made it, and they're going from strength to strength, which is something we like to see. As long as they don't get complacent.
Yeah. Again, it's good to see, because with that sort of like heritage and a bit of history, then hopefully that all the money then goes into some of those technical improvements, and we keep seeing that innovation.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of innovation, 44, X-Way strike again. 100 mil all-season hydro wheels and water-resistant bearings at last. That's unexpected.
Yeah, J. James agrees that Mega Ultimate would be the next. Yeah, so I do. I mean, we've said this before. Living in Britain with the climate that we've got, some of the wheels are a bit of a death trap. It's not great. It's not great for batteries and stuff like that. But I do think if you manage to do bearings on bicycles and on electric scooters that can handle salty, wet roads, then I genuinely don't see how we can't produce something that works, so that what you're worrying about is the motors and the battery rather than everything that moves on the bloody thing.
Absolutely. I mean, previously I would go for Zealous bearings, but I think I'm going to try these bearings from X-Way to see if they really do last a long time, because I must admit I do ride in the rain more than I should.
More than you should. And Suki's just checking that you're not sponsored by X-Way, because there's a lot of X-Way in here. But hey, it's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, no, they had a lot going on this year. There are other things though. Moving on, 45, Ace8 Stella S1 model is released.
Yeah, that was another really short board with a little metal bit on the back that you could kind of like a little metal tail on it. Quite a nice little board. Again, quite an interesting addition to the range.
Well, unfortunately, Suki, 46 is an X-Way one, but I'll skip it for you. I'll just say
no. Don't skip it. No. Let's do it. There's no. These are what was published. So
okay. Number 46, X-Way Waves NASA is released. CNC trucks, no hub motor option, built-in blue sidewall lighting. I love this. I would have got this if it had a hub motor option. But it doesn't.
I know, James. 2022 wasn't the year that you gave up on hub motors and wanted to try something different, was it?
No. I mean, the thing is, right, they, on their other model, the standard Wave, you can have belt or you can have hub motors. But with this special edition, it's only belt driven, which I feel like is a missed opportunity for hub motor purists like myself.
Indeed. Yeah, I thought that model did look nice, but not as nice as the Atlas Pro in white. That was class. That was, anyway, just matter of opinion.
Well, the idea of having a sidewall of lights all the way around the skateboard deck. That's a cool thing. That's very
Very nice. Yes, it's much better than sticky taping it, you know, stranded lights to the bottom. Yeah, definitely. I like that. All round visibility. Much better than reflective grip tape. Much more useful.
Yeah. Number 45, Crossway Boards releases their first ever belt-driven model, the Lynx. And for those who aren't aware, you know, years ago, it used to be that budget boards only did hub motors. And then they started doing belt-driven boards, and then they started doing gear-driven boards. So the idea of another one moving away from that's good to see. Diversifying.
Yeah, definitely. Haven't really heard a lot about that model, but be interesting to see if anybody's got any experience of it.
Apologies to Suki again. 48. X-Way. Their long-awaited gear drive system was released, and gear drives seem to be the next big thing. Previously, it was something like carbon, it was shortboards, but gear drives seems to be the thing. All the fun of driven motors without the snapping belts.
Without the snap, although I've never snapped a belt yet, but interestingly, the interesting thing about theirs wasn't that theirs was plastic rather than metal, which is it'll be interesting to see how that holds up over time and with muck added.
With life experience, will it last? Let's find out.
Indeed.
And then 49, Ecomobile releases a hub motor-based version of their ET model Storm. So usually it goes hub motor, then belt, but going backwards, belt to hub motor. That's fascinating for me to see, because I'm all about those hub motors.
You are indeed. Yes, you like to see it going that way around and stuff. Cool. Yeah, it's a nice looking board.
And then to end it off, number 50, Wraith skateboards. Building production all-wheel drive model with a claimed speed of 80 miles per hour, and their other one does 37. Direct drive motors. Wow.
Wow, indeed. Although with the specs from the battery, you would have to wonder what the range was at that speed. I think probably the end of the runway. No?
Absolutely. 80mm wheels. I don't think you'd like bumps on those.
No, it could be quite interesting, couldn't it?
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens when these eventually hit the runway. And there we have it, my top 50 moments. Thank you,
James. I think you deserve a round of applause for that, and probably a drink to re-wet your whistle after that non-stop tour through your Esk8 news of 2022. And again, thanks for doing that, keeping us up to speed on some of the stuff that goings on in the space. It's been really helpful.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where at a glance, people will say there's not much going on. And then when you step back and see all the news, there is actually a fair bit that's happened, even if it might just be micro improvements to some people. As a collective, there is a lot going on.
Yeah. Just maybe take a wee pause here. There's been a lot of good stuff there, a lot of interesting stuff. We've talked about the fact that it's a high pressure space and that there's lots of, some brands last, don't last. There's a lot of pressure involved in electric skateboarding, like a lot of tech and stuff like that. And I suppose we lost some people this year. Dave from Psychotiller, Frederick from Flux Motion, and Daniel from Lazy Rollin. And not all of those were, like Esk8 pressure related, but just being aware that is, I guess, when you lose folk from the scene, it brings, like when you lose anybody in your life, I think it brings it into sharp focus about how short life is and how much you've got to go out and enjoy it, and try not to take life too seriously if you can as well. Just enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. One of the YouTubers I was watching the other day, he was saying a lot of people pressure you to make content, and then sometimes you just want to go skate. And I feel like, it's good to have that in mind. It's not about the filming, about the ride.
Yeah, because we do electric skateboarding to feel good and to have that sense of freedom and release from responsibility and stuff. Hi, Jan. Yeah, no. So just a shout out to, if anybody's struggling and stuff like that, make sure and reach out to somebody, and I think, like I say, that this space, although there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of people who will support each other. And I hope that's one of the things that, even if it's a financial thing, if folk are struggling, try and partner up with somebody else. Don't just get so stuck in, oh, I've got to do it on my own. I think sometimes when you partner up, you can share the load and share the responsibility a bit and make more stuff happen. Fingers crossed that a lot of the builders and a lot of the independents and stuff like that have an easier time of it in the coming year, and that we can all support good developments in the space.
Absolutely.
So Suki's asking, what about new Esk8 experiences? So have you had any new Esk8 experiences this year, James?
Well, I did get a new board.
Yeah, did get a new board. And it was a hot board by any chance, it was a hot board.
Coincidentally, yeah, it was a hub motorboard. I got the Yiku MTS. I haven't managed to put many miles on it because the weather's been dreadful, and I want to be wise. I do not want to ride that in the rain just yet. But yeah, no, it's the first new one in 2 years, and I was going to mention that next. Okay, you spoiled the surprise.
Spoiler alert! You've got to build up to these things.
Exactly, yeah, and the idea of meeting another electric skateboarder in person, especially one from Scotland, Minty.
I know, one from the frozen north. Winter is coming.
That was really nice to have you down here. It's good to see another skater in the flesh. They exist.
I know, and we were just
and the long-awaited Endeavour Pro that you got.
Indeed, and it was fresh out of the box pretty much when I saw you.
You're like, don't scratch it.
And that. So, what did he do? Take me to a BMX track with some of the most savage little jumps and stuff. Anyway, but yeah, no, it was good catching up, and I can say that I'm the only one in this broadcast that's met yourself and Suki and Esk8 in the flesh. So there we go. It's always good to mix it up online and in person. So that was really good. For me this year I did. So I got the Endeavour Pro. So that meant it's the first time I've ridden a skateboard on pneumatic tires. First time riding a skateboard with suspension, which was, a bit of a learning curve. Well, independent suspension, not any other kind. And
this is not just any ordinary board. This is independent suspension M&S board.
How many miles? To be honest, I don't keep track. To be honest, not as much. So I haven't done very much at all. The last 2 months have been very few because the weather's been atrocious. But yeah, the miles that I have done have been really good. And then towards the end of the year, was the first time I tried riding a board with what do you call them? Yeah, bindings. So can you swap round so Minty's face isn't covered, please? Is my what, like this? All right, okay. I'm not sure what's covering me, but whatever it is, face. All right, okay. I don't know. There we go. Let's see if that works. Thanks, Jan. Yeah. So I tried Elliot's board with bindings. He's got a DIY off-road board. So I tried that briefly, and then when they came out with bindings for the Endeavour, I thought I'd give them a go, and I really quite like them. I know potentially they have issues about trying to get off in a hurry, but I quite like the feel of them, so I think they're staying on for now.
Have you done any jumps with your board yet?
Just jump just on the spots, sort of like jumping, like moving it around and stuff like that. But I'm not so much interested in too much of that. It was more about a really consistent feel at the steep ends of a when you're carving hard, and also if you're on sort of semi-off-road surfaces, just being better connected to the board, as well as during hard acceleration and braking.
So you've been adding a fair bit to your board, from bushings to bindings to, I believe, light mountings. Is that right? And all
yes,
new.
yeah. I haven't. I mean, it's got to be said. The only stuff that I did that was mine in terms of building was the winter jacket, the neoprene, the sort of neoprene thermal shielding kind of, which is Velcro mounted underneath, to try and make sure that, because it's a metal housing for the battery, rather than a plastic battery box, because it's kind of the chassis that forms the main sort of.
Yours would be a chassis, wouldn't it? It's not a skateboard deck; it's a chassis.
It's a chassis with a skateboard deck on top. So you've got the carbon fiber deck bolted to the chassis, it doesn't actually form. The carbon fiber doesn't actually form any of the integral strength. That's all the underneath, really.
Do you remember 2 years ago, the only pro thing that we really had was carbon fiber boards? Now it's gear driven systems and specialized precision hubs, and it's like, what?
I know. I've managed to not go for the CNC bling bling wheels. So mine's are the fairly standard plastic, generic ones. But they've been none the worse for it so far. But it would be nice to get some nice bling, but I don't know. I just couldn't justify the cost.
It's just so funny. Everyone else is driving around in these pro boards and with their hyper speeds and all their gear, and I've got the most Mad Max looking Like on board you've ever seen. It's held together with metal brackets, for crying out loud.
Yes, as is my left elbow. But that's not an Esk8 injury, interestingly enough. But yes, don't diss the metal brackets. I can recommend titanium. Very strong.
That was another thing. Some people like switching to titanium bolts in their boards from steel bolts, and it was people getting very specific about these things in the earlier years.
Yeah, because titanium's very light and strong, but then you can have issues with it as well, because it reacts with other metals. So if you don't do a lot of maintenance, sometimes it can kind of weld itself together. I've come from originally a titanium. I've been mountain biking since the early 90s, and the big thing then was titanium frames for a lot of the elite mountain bikes. But not without problems. And sometimes titanium bolt kits you can get for motorbikes as well. But
so let's try and predict what will happen next year. Because I was watching the previous episode of this back in 2021 December. I remember it well, slightly. And it'd be good to kind of replicate that and say what do we predict might possibly happen this year for this industry.
And James Matthews has come up with a really practical one, which I really like: marine grade fixings for wet and salty conditions. I think marine grade anything would be fabulous. I genuinely think if somebody put together a board that they'd thought about absolutely everything, so like encasing the electrics in corrosion X, sort of like, or plastic or whatever, making sure that all the links for
it's just a shame that a company can't really copy that name, the MG cars thing, but marine grade boards.
Marine MGB. Oh yes, he's back to the CDs again. But yeah, I think marine grade would be good, because even if you're not riding things in a lot of can really rough conditions, just the fact that stuff's got there's salt on the roads from from months ago maybe. Some of the deck hardware can get a bit of surface corrosion and stuff. So Trampa does marine grade fixings. Yeah, I will. Trampa's quite a serious. So I guess, I mean, things like that, things like Trampa and stuff like that, maybe making things that come out, you know, for more sort of road orientated boards, I guess would be quite interesting. I get, if we're thinking about it, a commuter board, because at the moment, a commuter board would be the sort of board that would make sense rather than a specialist, sunny day toy, that if you're going to use it as your your transportation, if it could handle anything other than the 4 or 6 inches of snow, unless you get
it is what I would love to
go
predict.
for it.
Esk8 predictions 2023. Number one, a lot of people are asking for replacement batteries from Mellow Boards and the company that makes those batteries. So that needs to happen, and maybe they need to revise that. Same again, maybe they could revise Revel boards, because they've been around for 2, 3, 4 years now. So it's about time. It's about time. And same again with MaxFind. They've basically got the fastest hub motor off-road board, but it's not all-wheel drive, and it still uses double kingpin trucks. I think now there seems to be a trend where people are moving away from double kingpin trucks and just using the single ones. So maybe we'll see more of that. Seems likely, considering the higher top speeds these are getting. What about yourself? Any others that come to mind that you'd love to see?
Yes, I'd like to see. Well, it's interesting. Well, we just had briefly on the screen there before this current one. We had James riding belt boards in 2023, but you've done that already this year because you rode my Endeavour.
Exactly. It's not just that this year. The new board I wanted to get was the Revel Drive kit. Is the Revel Drive kit, because apparently Team G are going to bring out some kind of revision. So I'm stepping back a bit and I'm thinking, no, because they've been using the same kind of hub motors for 2, 3 years. So I'm going to be wise and not jump in for a Team G just yet. But Revel, so many things I could do with that.
And Suki's obviously been consulting with Nostradamus, thinking that I should be riding in heels this year. I can't see that happening. However, what I will do is I will do a.
I've had a bad idea.
I'll do an Esk8 in a kilt. I've actually bought a specific one of those tactical kilts because I'm not wrecking my good kilt. But yeah, I'll do a group ride.
Here's what you need to do, Suki. You need to organise the silly Olympics or Esk8 edition, and people must skate in heels and try and get the fastest lap. I think that would be funny to see.
That's it. And Esk8ers speaking about doing something in Brazil, so that would be good.
Oh, there's also Esk8 Hawaii. They are, absolutely, definitely want to see more electric skateboards now.
Yeah, and well, I mean, we've said so Esk8. Well, one of the things that we spoke about this year and we didn't get a chance to do, we got as close to a mini tour as we got was me making it down from Aberdeen to Leeds to ride with you, James. But it would be absolutely fabulous if we could do a mini tour of the UK where we could catch up for some rides with each other in persons. And yeah, I tried doing backflips on his one wheel. Yeah, so it would be great to connect with folk. I know you've just sort of said there about Craig Taylor, coming to the UK, but it would be interesting to see. I know that Craig's going across to Vegas to the sort of like Esk8 Con thing, so that'd be good. Happy New Year, James, when it comes. So yeah, fingers crossed we can connect to people. I certainly, my budget won't. My budget won't stretch to go into Vegas, so I won't be catching up with Craig there. Unfortunately, not this year. Not probably. I think it'd be a hard sell to my wife. I'm just off to Vegas to Esk8 Con. So there we go. Happy New Year. There we go.
When you mentioned One Wheel, I thought you were on about Own Board, and that's one of those budget board companies. It's been a bit quiet lately. Own Board.
Own Board, yes, indeed.
I've got a long list of companies that I check in with every now and then. What are they up to?
What are they up to? Well, those can be lists of things for next year to think about. Let's keep an eye on.
And just to clarify, I'll be putting this top 50 list into the Esk8 News newsletter page on Facebook.
Yes, and next year. Oh, he's going over to celebrate his 50. Oh, he's got a leave pass. You don't have to justify anything to us, Craig. You just go for it. That's pretty. I'm sure you'll have great fun in Vegas. I know I did. It was well before my 50th. So, but yeah, it would be good to see, and it would be good to see more other brands coming to the UK and being stocked over here.
Oh, that's something. Yeah, here's another prediction for you. These electric roller skates, we're going to see them everywhere. Electric scooters legalized at last. I'm manifesting it.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I might get one wheel and go to the Highlands. Hey, there we go, James. There we go. Go to the Highlands. The Highlands is spectacular. There's a loop of Loch Ness that I think I shared with Suki that there's Esk8 sort of recharge points. Well, it's advertised as e-bike recharge points, but obviously, hopefully they wouldn't be too averse to.
Well, there's all these portable power bank generators, which are like a shoebox. It can charge your battery many times over. Maybe we'll see more of those this year.
Yeah, might be a fair ask to put that in a backpack, but fingers crossed. Yeah, brilliant. Wow, that's been a whistle stop tour. That's an hour of Esk8 news. I want to thank you again, James, for all your input over the year and for making up that list. Thanks, Suki, for organising all these things. That's a wrap up for 2022. Fingers crossed that 2023 brings some more exciting stuff. Any final things you want to leave us to with?
Yeah, like we said, this is only the beginning. We are the second generation of electric skateboard riders, and the next ones won't deal with the crap that we had to deal with
back in our day. Thanks to everyone for watching.
I remember it well.
Thanks, Jan. Okay, live long and prosper. Cheers, guys.